Hey everybody, so I have never done a video about like video games before or any sort of theories or anything like that, so this is my first one. I just thought I'd have a little bit of fun with the beginning there. I hope you enjoyed that. But I have a theory about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and in short, here's what it is. I believe that the remake takes place in the future of the original Final Fantasy VII game, and I'll explain why. There's not a lot to explain, so this video will be short. However, I do want to say that this is based off of very little, but it makes sense, and I'll explain why now. I have been thinking long and hard about the changes that we know that they have made to Final Fantasy VII's story for the remake, and why they would make these changes to such a legendary game, knowing that a lot of people would be very upset about it. At the same time, I can understand the sentiment that remaking a game without any changes seems a bit odd as well, especially considering how they're expanding each section of the game. There have to be story elements added in or changed to fit this new structure. However, they are making changes to some main story beats, and that's where the fans are really watching like hawks. The two biggest changes seem to be, one, they've added the Watchman of Fate, and two, Sephiroth now appears in Midgar. These are actually pretty big changes, and they affect the story quite a bit. The first thing that planted the seed of this theory in my mind was the idea of the Watchman of Fate. According to other sources, the Japanese name for these entities translates to either Watchmen of Fate or Guardians of Fate. The trailers so far appear to be showcasing these enemies as sort of, bad guys, or at least something terrifying. By the looks of it, Aerith, that's right, Aerith, I can't get used to calling her Aerith, I'm sorry. Aerith is the first one to be able to see them and is a bit terrorized by them. Cloud can't see them until she touches him, and that somehow opens his vision. In the just-released intro for FF7 Remake, we can see Aerith getting startled by something in the alleyway. My guess is that she somehow senses the Watchmen are, watching her, and it causes her to leave the alleyway and walk closer to the street. This already changes the tone of the game right at the very beginning. And if that tone change is the Watchman of Fate, like if that is actually them in that scene that startles her, well, then we can assume that they're going to be central to the plot. That is quite the change. Then we have Sephiroth appearing in Midgar and interacting with the group well before it actually happened in the original game. Some people seem to think that this is all in Cloud's head, but there's a scene where the rest of the group seems to be able to see Sephiroth alongside Cloud, so I don't think it's just something in his head. He also says something along the lines of it being nice to see Cloud again. Now, we know from the original game that these two have met before, but we also know their history is convoluted because of a mix-up in Cloud and Zack's memories. However, I am betting that Square is counting on that very fact to misdirect us in these trailers, while also still leaving the gigantic pile of breadcrumbs to what is actually happening, and that is the Watchmen or the Guardians of Fate. Let's think for a moment about what their names imply that they are. Going by the name alone, it would be reasonable to assume that their job is to protect Fate. If that's the case, then it is also reasonable to assume that they would only be activated if someone or something is trying to change Fate. Here's the thing though. We know what Fate is supposed to be in this game. We already know the ending to this story. Or do we? In one way, yes we do. We know what Fate is supposed to be in the original story of Final Fantasy VII, but this remake is not that original story, and that's evident by the fact that there are these new things in the game. We know Square wants this game to hit just as hard as the original, but I also know that, that isn't really possible. It's likely that the majority of people playing this game will be people that have played the original. We already know what happens, so we will be expecting those major beats. So what if those beats are different? Or what if they're changed? Now I am going to dive off the deep end here for a quick minute. It didn't take much of a leap to get to where we are in this theory, but now I'm going to make some predictions that I have no real evidence for beyond what I've already said. It is my prediction that this entire game will actually take place in the future of the original game, and all of those big beats we will be expecting will either be different or won't happen at all. For example, I feel like Eris is going to be with us the entire game. I feel like this whole game is an attempt by Sephiroth, who didn't really die, to rewrite the history that we know. So when those beats are different, well, the Watchmen of Fate come to do their job. Is it a stretch? Maybe, but it makes sense to me. So there you have it, folks. Like I said, short and sweet and not based off of much, but when you think about it, it really makes sense. It's a good way that they could, change the original without really changing the original. Bring a new experience into the remake while still being extremely reverent to the old one. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. And, I plan on posting more videos soon. I've been very inconsistent over the years, but subscribe for more. And we'll catch you guys later. Adios.